So for this set of problems, it's really helpful to know a little shortcut when it comes to squaring a binomial. So this is my binomial. You can see my two terms, and we're going to square it. Well, in reality, what this is saying is take a plus b and multiply it by itself 2 times. So normally you could use the box method or you can FOIL, and let's see what we'd get. We would get a squared. Next would be plus ab. Next we would get plus ba. And then finally plus b squared. Now ab and ba are the same thing. I could just rewrite this as a times b instead. So when we simplify, we're going to get a squared plus ab is 2ab, and then the b squared at the end. So instead of doing all this work, let's notice a pattern. For the first term, we're definitely going to have to square the first guy because we're multiplying him by himself. For the last term, we're going to square the second term since we end up multiplying him by himself. Then for the middle term, we're going to take the first term times the second term. We're taking the first term times the second term, and then we're multiplying it by 2 because we know it's going to appear 2 times. So we're going to write plus 2ab. Let's apply that formula. Here, let me rewrite it. Let's just apply that formula and breeze through these problems as though we need no work. Okay, so first we're going to square the first term. So I have a binomial, we're squaring it, so this rule applies. So we're going to get x times x, which is x squared. For my next term, I'm always going to write plus 2 times, and if this is my a and that's my b, then we're writing 2 times x times negative 5. For my next term, I'm going to square the last term. So it's going to be negative 5 times negative 5, which is plus 25. For the next step, I just need to simplify the middle term. So we have x squared. 2 times negative 5 is minus 10x plus 25. And we're done. If you want to see how it's done the old way, just so you can kind of feel comfortable, convince yourself that this works, I'm going to show it to you right now. So we have x minus 5 times x minus 5. We would have had x squared minus 5x minus 5x plus 25. Nothing wrong with doing it this way. It's just we're going to go a lot faster in the future using our shortcut. Then we combine our like terms, and you can see this matches our final answer. So let's try the shortcut one more time. For f, so we're going to square the first term. 5y times 5y is 25y squared. Next, we're always going to write plus 2 times. If this is my a and that's my b, we're writing 5y times 3. So we have our 2ab, and now we just need our b squared, so we're squaring the last term, which is plus 9. Last step, let's simplify this middle term for our final answer. 25y squared plus 2 times 5 is 10 times 3 is 30, y plus 9, and we're done. Okay, for these next 2 problems, let's do it the same way. Actually, yeah, so we're going to square the first term. So negative y cubed times negative y cubed. First of all, it's going to give me a positive. And then off to the side, y cubed times y cubed, you should know is y to the 6th because you add exponents when multiplying with a common base. So it's really y cubed times y cubed, which is y to the 6th. Okay, cool. So we squared our first term. Now we're going to write plus 2 times a, which is negative y cubed, times b, which is negative 5. And now we're going to add b squared, so that's plus 25. Now remember, all of these in the middle is our middle term, so don't go combining these numbers, 5 and 25. They don't go together. We got to multiply first. So we have y squared. Since I have two negatives here, they'll cancel and give me a positive. And 2 times 5 is 10 y cubed. And we're done. Plus 25, and we're done. Pause the video here and try h on your own using the same formula. Okay, hopefully you had a chance to pause the video. If not, take an opportunity right now. And let's do the problem. So let's square the first term. So we're going to get negative 2x times negative 2x is 4x squared, plus 2 times a, which is negative 2x, times b, which is 7y, and then finally b squared. So 7y times 7y is 49y squared. So we'll get 4x squared. 2 times negative 2 is negative 4, times 7 is negative 28, and then x, y just multiply together by copying them down, plus 49y squared. Notice we don't have any like terms, so we're done. Okay. Let's move on to I and j. This time though, we're going to try to skip the middle step completely and just go straight to our final answer. So see if you can keep up. If not, it's totally fine to always write the middle step. Nothing wrong with that. So here's how we'll do it. First, let's square the first term. So 3a times 3a, that's going to be 9a squared. Next, instead of writing 2 times 3 times 4, we're going to do this times 2. So see, this is, I'm kind of pretending as if it's the 2 that I'm multiplying by for the middle term. So this 2, I'm going to pretend that it's that 2 there, and then we just do a times b. So watch. I'll always draw this to remind me. So 3 times 4 is negative, well, that's 12, times 2 is 24. Since there's a negative here, I know that becomes a negative 24. These signs always match. But then we need our variables. So remember, we just copy down the a and the x. Just like how in the last problem, we copied down the x and the y. So once again, we did the numbers first. 3 times 4 is 12, times 2 is 24. Match the sign. And then copy down the letters. Now we're not done. We still need the last term. So negative 4x times negative 4x is 16x squared. And we're done. One step only. Let's try the next one. Pause the video and try it yourself if you got the hang of it. So our first term is going to be 16x to the 4th. Our middle term is 4 times negative 3, which is negative 12, times 2, which is again negative 24. Notice the signs match. And then we're copying down our variables, which in this case is x squared only. Next, we're going to square the last term, so plus 9, and we are done. Okay. So notice now we're getting into some trickier problems because we have fractions, and over here we have radicals. So for these ones, we're not going to skip the middle step. It's really helpful to write it out. So let's do it. I'm going to write the formula first. And actually, I'm going to make a small adjustment to the formula. Since the sign in here, if it's negative, then this sign will be negative. But notice the last number is always positive, since if you take negative b times negative b, that's going to become a positive b squared, no matter what. So when you square that last term, it will always turn positive. So we just need to make sure that these signs match. All right, let's do the problem. So, as always, we're going to square the first term. So 2 over a squared is basically 2 over a times 2 over a, which notice is just 4 over a squared. So with a fraction, when you're squaring it, you can just square the top, which gives me 4, and you can square the bottom, which is a squared. Cool, we did this part so far. Now let's do our 2ab. So I'm going to write, so let me do this in black, okay? 4 over a squared. Now we're always going to write, since it's a plus here, we're going to write plus 2 times, actually no matter what, we'll always write plus 2, because then your negative will go with the number that comes next. Just make sure that the sign matches your final answer. Okay, anyway, so plus 2 always times 2 over a times 3a. Last sign is going to be 3a times 3a, which is 9a squared. Okay, we have a little bit of simplifying to do here in the middle, as always. So since we are multiplying fractions, let's put them over 1 and multiply straight across. So notice my a's actually cancel. You could cancel them now or later. And we're just left with, on top, 2 times 2 times 3. And no numbers on the bottom, so just over 1. So we have 4 over a squared plus 2 times 2 is 4 times 3 is 12 over 1 times 1 times 1, which is just really 12. Plus 9a squared. We don't have any like terms since this is an a squared in the denominator, and that's an a squared in the numerator, so we're done. Okay, let's do the same for L. So remember, we're going to want to write out our 2ab. So let's get started. Squaring the first term, 2 over a squared is 4 over a squared. Next, we're going to write plus 2 times a times b. And now we're going to square the last term. So plus 7 over b times itself. 7 over b times 7 over b is 49 over b squared. Let's simplify the middle now. Put that 2 over 1. Does anything cancel? I don't see any cancellation. Nothing's the same on the top as the bottom. So our final answer is 4 over a squared plus 2 times 2 is 4 times 7 is 28 over, my denominator is just ab, plus 49b squared. And we're done. No like terms here. Okay, let's get into these radicals. So, first steps first, I'll write the formula since we're still learning. Okay, let's square our first term. So, 7 root x times 7 root x. I'm going to show this off to the side just once. So the outside numbers always multiply together, so we get 49. And the inside numbers will multiply together, giving me an x squared, but they stay inside the radical. Now notice that the square and the square root cancel, leaving us with 49x. So 7 root x times 7 root x is 49x. Another way you can think about it is imagine that 7 root x is, instead, if we write it as an exponent, that's 7x to the 1/2 times 7x to the 1/2. So we get 49, and then because we're multiplying, we'll add our exponents. So x to the 1/2 times x to the 1/2 becomes x to the 2/2, or just x to the 1. Again, you're adding the exponents. Hence 49x. Let me get rid of this. Awesome. So now we got our a squared done. Now let's do our 2ab. So we're going to write plus 2 times a times b. And the last step, we're going to do our plus b squared. Okay, so negative 5 times negative 5 is plus 25, and now we just need to combine our middle term, and we'll be done. So we have 49x, 2 times 7 is 14, and 14 times 5, let's see what that is. 4 times 5 is 20, 1 times 5 is 5 plus 2. So that gives me minus 70 square root x plus 25. And we're done. Let's try n now. Pause the video and try to do this one as much as you can on your own. Okay, so squaring the first term, you should have got 16x squared. Next, you wrote plus 2 times 4x times 3 root x. And lastly, you did 3 root x times 3 root x, which is just 9x. The square roots cancel each other. Now, let's combine our middle term. So we have 16x squared. 2 times 4 is 8 times 3 is 24. And then we copy down our variables. That's x times the square root of x. Now, if you think this looks weird, you're right. We're not going to leave this like x root x. So let's do something off to the side, and let me show you how we'll rewrite it. X times square root x, if we rewrite these as make our exponents visible, that would be an exponent of 1, and the square root gives us an exponent of 1/2. So really, you're thinking of this as x to the 1 times x to the 1/2. And using our old rule, we know that if we're multiplying with the same base, we add the exponents. So this would become a to the m plus n. So this is going to become x to the 1 plus 1/2, which is x to the 3/2. And that's what we're actually going to write here. So our final answer is 16x squared plus 24x to the 3/2 plus 9x, because we know our exponent rules can apply. And none of our exponents are the same, so we're done. We have no like terms to combine.